everybody.
Okay.
But now we are back online, and I see Deborah and Rebecca are joining us again. Um, Christy will hopefully be back with us in a second. I'm going to send her another invitation. I think I sent it to the wrong email.
Why is my picture? Deborah.
Hey.
I know.
I think Deborah and Rebecca, do you have your computers in the same room?
Okay, because the computer that's playing on the smart board doesn't have sound, I'm using my phone as well.
Okay.
And there's an echo coming in. Right. But I don't understand why my picture is coming up on.
I know. Why isn't it captured?
Like my account is coming up on the smart board.
Uh-huh.
Every time you
But
talk,
you're logged in with you.
right, but yours is coming through your phone.
Even though your computer is not putting out sound, it's probably taking sound in.
Okay. So what should I do?
You can cut the microphone off.
We can just turn
Turn
it's
this
not
off?
affecting that. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
But the
Yeah,
only way we're going to be able to hear anything is that's what I don't get. Is
If
your
you'll
sound-
cut one of the microphones off, I think that'll cut down on the echo.
This is up.
Yeah. The problem is why isn't your phone seeing you?
Because this is not connected to my phone.
But we should be able to see you just like we can see Ashley.
Yeah, I know.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know.
It has something's not happening on this device that should be happening. Big picture, I mean, you could still do it without it. They can still hear you. I just don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Usually, like last time, came right up. Maybe something's turned off that you had on last time.
Okay.
It's got to.
I think at this point, if we need to work out technical difficulties, maybe just mute microphones while it gets worked out so you can hear what's going on, but we can't hear you. Christy, if you could go ahead and talk to us a little bit about the science of growing crystals and what you saw in your lab. We had some trouble here. We tried to grow some, and then we had snow days, so I think ours sat in the solution for too long, and the crystals dissolved.
From the lab there at the museum, I want you to look at her. She's going to tell us a little bit about why the crystals did what they did when we had the borax. Just let me know when they're.
No, just leave it like that. We can just use this sound.
Switch it up.
We're ready.
Can we mute that microphone?
I think you said I'm supposed to tell you guys about crystals. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, and we're ready and waiting.
Me, right? Because I'm only getting about half the words you're saying.
My first graders can see you, and they're ready to hear about the crystals and see what you have to say.
Okay. So, and did you guys grow crystals in your lab?
Yes.
Okay, I heard that. Excellent. And did you use borax and water?
Yes.
And pipe cleaners?
Yes.
Okay, and so I did the same thing in my lab, and I used, but I just did one tiny little pipe cleaner. You see it?
Yes. No.
See mine? I took a green pipe cleaner and I hung it from a string in a beaker of water with the borax, and overnight the pipe cleaner got covered in these crystals, and what happened was the concentration of borax was so high in the water that it couldn't stay in the water anymore. And so instead of floating dissolved in the water, it started to gather all those chemicals of the borax all stuck together and started to build on each other into these crystals. And they make, did yours look like mine, or did yours look different?
Different.
Did you
Ours
have,
were,
oh, go ahead. Yours what?
we started ours on Monday of last week. So they were in
Okay.
the water Tuesday, Wednesday, and I could get them out Thursday morning. So
And did it take that long for the crystals to form?
I don't know because I didn't get to see them on Tuesday and Wednesday, but by Thursday there were a few crystals on our pipe cleaners, but most of the crystals were at the bottom of our container.
And that, you know, that happened to my beaker too. The whole bottom of my beaker got covered in crystals as well, like way more than got on my pipe cleaner. And I think probably the reason both my beaker and your containers ended up with so many crystals in the bottom is that the borax chemicals are kind of heavier than water, and so they were settling and forming the crystals on the bottom. So I wonder, I know the instructions say to hang the pipe cleaner in the solution, but I wonder if the pipe cleaners were closer to the bottom, maybe not touching, because then they would maybe get embedded in the crystals, if your pipe cleaner would make more. So that would be another experiment you could try if you have time.
Okay.
The other thing you could try would be to try it in a smaller container, like everybody get their own little cup, so that you have even more concentrated borax solution instead of having to share it in a huge container.
Right.
But the whole idea of crystal forming is that there's similar chemicals in a solution, and they start to attract to one another and form, according to their chemical structure, a particular type of crystal. So I did another experiment with Epsom salt, which you can buy at the pharmacy or the grocery store. A lot of people like to soak their feet because it feels really good, but I put some Epsom salt in a Petri dish. Is that blurry or is that showing up? Can't see.
Pretty blurry.
Okay, maybe, I don't think I can. But anyway, the crystals that it makes are more like needles instead of the borax crystals, kind of tubes. So depending on the elements or the chemicals that you're trying to make crystals, there'll be shapes too. So that's kind of fun to try different solutions when you're making crystals.
Okay.
Anything else? Any questions?
Do you guys have any questions? Richard, yes?
Wait, say it because I couldn't hear.
You need to say it loud, Richard.
And
Still couldn't
they
hear.
grow. They grow before they hang, or if they don't hang, they don't grow.
I think he was asking if they don't hang, will they not grow?
Well, I think they'll still grow, but if you're talking about like hanging the pipe cleaner, if it's not hanging, it would be hard to remove from the container because it would be maybe covered and stuck to the bottom. So I think that's why you have to hang it when you're making them for yourself. But crystals can form on any kind of surface, whether it's hanging or just sitting down on the ground. They can. Have you guys ever heard of geodes?
You ever heard of geodes?
No.
They're like, they'll be like round, they just look like rocks, and they're usually kind of round shaped, and when you crack them open, inside, the surface of the inside of the geode is completely covered in crystals like the borax crystal. And so that wasn't hanging, that was inside like a bubble of rock that was forming.
Okay.
And the museum in Raleigh has a lot of different, they have a lot of crystals on display, like emeralds and diamonds and topaz and quartz, and they come up, you know, they come up out of rocks, they hang down from ceilings, they come up from the ground, so they can form in any kind of orientation.
Those geodes form because of the cooling of the. So are you saying that those geodes form because of the cooling of the salt? Is that what she said? Was it something about salt?
You know, so
The
warm
crystal
liquid can
geodes?
usually hold. So warm liquid can usually hold a higher concentration of a solution of chemicals or minerals, and as the solution cools, then the water can't hold as much of the minerals as it could. It was a super saturated solution. As it cools, you're right, the compounds or the elements come out of the water and form around each other, which is why you had to have warm water to start with, right?
Right.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions?
No.
Mason?
How many hours has it been growing?
You know, my pipe cleaner, these crystals formed overnight for me, and it sounds like yours took a little bit longer, and I'm not sure, maybe it was cooler in my room, or maybe I had a more saturated solution than you did, but mine formed pretty quickly.
I think that ours
And you know,
formed I'm sorry. I think that ours probably formed quickly too, but we didn't get back to them for 3 or 4 days.
because of the snow.
Yes. Yes, because of the crystals that were forming outside.
Right, because of the water crystals.
Yes.
Oh, hey, if you have a chance, I just uploaded to our Google community videos that I took with my phone of ice crystals forming on soap bubbles when it was snowing last week.
Oh, okay. I'll check that out and show them.
So I finally figured out a way to get it up on the community. So if you guys have time, it was kind of cool. It was neat to watch, but hard to video.
Okay.
Because it was really cold.
Yes, I'm sure. I think Keller has a question.
How did the crystals get on them?
He said, how did the crystals get on the pipe cleaners?
You have to say it's something about crystals and the pipe cleaners.
Yeah, Keller wanted to know how the crystals formed on the pipe cleaners. Why they weren't just everywhere else. But
they did form on the bottom of your container, right?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So I think if you had put in my beaker, I actually put a glass slide in my beaker, and I hung my pipe cleaner, and I had crystals form on that glass slide also. So I think the crystals would form on anything that you put into that solution, but maybe not on a really. I don't think it would form on wood because wood would soak up the solution. I think on things that are not porous or are really super hard, like glass or the fiber of the pipe cleaner.
Okay.
So I think the crystals are formed kind of in whatever you put in there. If you had time, you could try another experiment. You could put, actually, a lady who works in my lab one time put a pine cone in a solution of Epsom salt, and the crystals formed on the pine cone, so it looked like a frosted pine cone.
I bet that was really pretty.
It did look really nice. It was perfect for our winter decorations in the lab.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your information with us.
You're welcome.
So I think Trey,
Yes.
is it time for Trey to take us through our poetry workshop?
Yes. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
That's good. That's good. So, Rebecca, how far did you guys get in your poem? I know you started before now.
We just kind of brainstormed some things that we saw
Mm-hmm.
and some ways that we thought the crystals looked. I can read you what we've gotten so far if you'd like.
Well, actually, hold up. I have a little backstory for you. So we're going to
Okay.
be doing 30-word poems today, and we're going to be crystallizing them down to 6-word poems. And I got that actually from Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway is credited with inventing the 6-word poem. The legend goes that he was bet by one of his writer buddies that he couldn't write, a 6-word poem or a really, really short poem. And needless to say, he succeeded. He wrote a 6-word poem. And the first ever 6-word poem was For Sale, Baby Shoes, Never Worn. I personally think it's a really good poem. But that's really what inspired this workshop today. So, okay, now let me hear what you guys got and let's see what we can do with it.
Okay. We wrote, during this experiment, we felt things that were bumpy, rough, smooth, hard, soft, and wet.
Mm.
The timing was perfect because there were snow crystals outside. There are different shapes and sizes of crystals, just like we are different shapes and sizes.
Mm.
The crystals were clear like a window. The crystals looked like water. The crystals looked like ice. They reminded me of a kaleidoscope. And then crystals grow like we do.
I like it. All right. So I'm guessing that was a lot more than 30 words.
I think so.
Well, okay. So how can we break that down into?
Oh dear,
30
hold
words?
on a minute. There's a train going by. The kids aren't going to be able to hear you for a second.
Okay.
Just rectangular prisms and cylinders.
All right, so you've heard what he said, right? We're going to turn what we've written into a very short 6-word poem. You guys
Yes.
sit on your bottoms for me? But you've got to listen to him very closely because he's going to tell us how to do this. Okay? And this is Trey right here.
Woo.
See him? Okay, I think maybe we could try it now, Trey.
Okay. All right. So from what I heard, can you repeat that last line? That we grow like crystals. I think it was?
Yes, sir. We grow like crystals.
Oh, I think that's the point of your poem. I think your 6-word poem starts right there.
Okay.
So that could be the first part.
So write that down first.
Yes.
All right. We grow like crystals. Okay.
Like we grow like crystals. All right, now we just need 2 more words. And I'm going to let you guys come up with the last words to end
Ooh,
off
so-
our 6-word poem.
We need to use 2 words to add to our poem. Look, we've got 4 words, guys. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Read it. We grow like crystals.
Yes.
So,
Maybe find 2 adjectives.
adjectives are words that describe the crystals.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see any 2 words in our poems? In our poem that describes the crystals? Who could help me out? Keller? What about Um, shapes and sizes.
Ooh, I like that.
Or
The beginning,
the very beginning.
Oh, are we not supposed to?
No, we can. I just can't get this to stay up.
Bump.
We've got bumpy, rough.
Hard, soft, wet,
This is
Hmm.
stiff. They were stiff. Hard. They were bumpy.
Mm-hmm. So what do you guys think? What 2 words should we use?
You pick one color. Well, 6.
So 6.
6. Or was it 4? No, it was 6.
So
You're right.
6.
It was 6.
So we grow like crystals 6 sides, or we grow like crystals. How else did the crystals feel? What were some words that describe the crystals?
Bumpy, rough,
Hard.
hard. There we go.
Hard. Hard. You want to do bumpy? They were bumpy.
Yeah, I like
Touch the
bumpy too.
sides.
I like bumpy too.
They were pokey.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So let's read it together. We grow like crystals, hard, bumpy.
Incredible.
I know, it's hard to hear. Rashard, can you be quiet?
That was you guys finished the poem?
Yeah,
Hard
I
and
think
bumpy?
so.
I like that. I want you guys to give yourselves a big round of applause right now. Let's do it. All right, and now that you guys have made your poem, now it's your turn to listen to me do my poem.
Okay, let's hear him.
So I'm going to start with my 30-word poem, and then I'm going to read my 10-word poem, and then I'm going to read my 6-word poem. Okay? All right. 30 words.
Here we go.
We are the
Listen.
catalyst of crystallization, the inspiration that makes you sprout, the chlorophyll in your cells, the oxygen in your lungs, the vibration behind your voice, the little voice screaming grow. That was 30 words, okay? I think. I didn't quite count, but it was close enough. All right, my 10-word poem. The catalyst of crystallization is the vibration in voice. Grow. 10 words, exactly. And now, finally, for my 6-word poem, catalyst crystallization. Your voice screaming grow.
Very cool. Did you see how his poem started bigger, but then it got shorter and shorter?
Picked out the most important or the words he liked the most.
Yeah. Why don't you give him a round of applause?
Woo. Oh, I'm so flattered.
Okay.
All right. You guys have any questions for me today?
I think we have maybe reached our limit of
Okay.
sitting and listening with the lockdown and trying to get this all started. But we thank you very much, and we are going to pack up and head home for today.
Okay.
All
I
right.
hope you guys have a good one.
Trey, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
Yes.
Somebody who's just tuning in to our Make Cycle, if they were just getting started with their 30-word poem to work down to their 6-word poem, how would you advise them to get started on that?
All right, for the 30-word poem, I would always start with the 5 senses, you know, touch, taste, hearing, sight, well, actually, smell and hearing. I'm sorry. But yeah, use your 5 senses and kind of describe your story, describe the crystals or whatever you're talking about in your 30-word story. And then from there, pick out the words that mean the most to you and keep those words and eliminate everything that doesn't matter until you get 6 words. I feel like that's the way that I do it, and I feel like it's the easiest way. You're going to get the most genuine product, so to speak. Any more questions?
I don't think so.
All right, guys.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for being on the Hangout today.
All right.
We
Thank you.
will be meeting back up virtually tomorrow from 1 to 2. We'll be doing a Twitter chat, and hopefully we'll have participants who will be tweeting out their 6-word poems. And it would be awesome if the students who came up with a class poem would come up with some of theirs individually, and I think some of my students will be tweeting poems tomorrow. So we will hopefully get to see the results of our work on this Make cycle tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And the hashtag will be iMicro. So we'll see everybody on Twitter tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.